The night had already been long for Daniel Hayes, but nothing prepared him for the moment that would change everything. It happened in an instant, one careless insult, one flash of anger from a powerful man who thought the world bowed beneath his feet. And then, a small shift in Daniel's worn sleeve revealed the faded tattoo on his wrist, a symbol the billionaire CEO had prayed he would never see again. The world around them seemed to freeze, the noise in the grand glass lobby falling silent as two pasts collided in the most unexpected way. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps stories like these alive. Daniel had never wanted to be noticed. Life had taken enough from him already. His wife's passing, the crushing debt, the quiet little daughter who depended on him for both strength and softness. Working night shifts as a janitor at Browning Enterprises wasn't glamorous, but it paid just enough for rent and school fees, and that was all he ever needed from the world. His routine was quiet, predictable: clean the marble floors, empty the bins, get home before sunrise so he could pack his daughter's lunch before she woke. But that night, fate decided he had hidden long enough. The CEO, Adrian Browning, had returned early from a corporate gala, frustrated by market losses and angry at everyone but himself. His expensive shoes echoed across the lobby as he stormed in, tossing his coat to the floor without care. Daniel, exhausted yet steady in his discipline, stepped forward to pick it up. But Adrian's irritation flared, and he snapped. He called Daniel useless, slow, a burden on company payroll. He insulted his dignity, his appearance, even the idea that someone like him deserved to stand inside a building this expensive. Daniel lowered his head, not in shame, but to control his rising temper. He had learned long ago that anger cost money, money he couldn't afford to lose. So he took the insult silently and bent to retrieve the coat. But as he did, his sleeve slipped up, exposing a tattoo on his wrist, a small emblem, the mark of a rescue unit that had served in one of the worst earthquakes years ago. Adrian Browning froze. His expression changed from irritation to shock, then to something heavier: guilt, fear, recognition. Because that tattoo belonged to the team that had saved his life when the world fell apart around him. And one of the rescuers had pulled him from the rubble, given him water, told him to breathe, and carried him through the collapsing streets while chaos roared around them. Adrian remembered that face, dusty, exhausted, selfless. He had spent years searching for the man who saved him, wanting to show gratitude, but the records were lost in the devastation. And now, the man he had just insulted, was standing right in front of him. Adrian tried to speak, but words tangled in his throat. He had treated Daniel like nothing, unaware that he was alive because of him. Meanwhile, Daniel rose to his feet and quietly placed the coat over his arm, waiting for more instructions like nothing had happened. Inside, though, Daniel carried more stories than the world realized. After the earthquake, life had not rewarded him the way people assumed heroes were rewarded. He lost his job, his home, then his wife to illness shortly after. He had fought every day just to keep his daughter safe, selling his medals, giving up his dreams, swallowing pride after pride. Adrian's voice finally found its way out, softer than Daniel had ever imagined possible. He asked about the tattoo, asked if Daniel had served, asked questions that trembled with remorse. Daniel nodded politely, speaking in quiet, humble tones about the rescue work he once did, the people he lost, the years that followed. Adrian listened like a man sitting before a mirror, forced to see not only his mistakes but the truth of what mattered. The CEO who had spent years building empires suddenly felt small beside a janitor who carried invisible mountains. The tension in the air shifted into something heavier, almost sacred. Adrian asked why Daniel didn't tell anyone, why he chose this job when he could have used his past to demand more. Daniel smiled, a tired but sincere one, and said that titles didn't feed children, that pride didn't pay medical bills, and that he didn't need the world to know his worth, only his daughter did. Those words carved into Adrian's conscience deeper than any insult he had thrown. And for the first time in years, the billionaire felt shame that wasn't temporary. He realized how deeply he had forgotten his roots, how far he had drifted from the values he once carried before wealth hardened him. That night, Adrian didn't walk away. He sat down in the same lobby he entered in anger and asked Daniel about his daughter, about his life, about the quiet battles no one ever applauded. The janitor spoke softly, not complaining, simply sharing truths of survival, sacrifice, and love. Adrian felt something inside him break open, something human he had locked away in boardrooms and luxury. In the days that followed, he began showing up earlier, helping Daniel with tasks he had once belittled, learning about his struggles without prying. And then, quietly but firmly, Adrian made a decision. Not out of pity, not out of guilt, but out of respect. He offered Daniel a promotion, head of safety and emergency response, using the skills he had once used to save lives, with training opportunities and a salary that would secure his daughter's future. Daniel resisted at first, unsure, but Adrian insisted. For the first time, someone was lifting him without expecting anything back. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel allowed himself to rise. Months later, as Daniel walked his daughter to school on a bright morning, wearing a clean uniform and carrying a sense of dignity he thought he had lost forever, he felt the world shift in his favor. Not because he was saved by a billionaire, but because kindness had finally come full circle. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life. Special request, comment, kindness always wins, if you believe every act of goodness returns in unexpected ways.